Okay. Did everyone? So we offer you these humble tokens of our appreciation and deepest gratitude. Surely without the smoothness that we had hoped for, but nevertheless, I hope everyone was felt appreciated for all that you have done to support the Bay Area Tibetan community and the Tibetan cause. I see a couple of Western supporters who don't have katas on them. Please accept our apologies. The katas will be coming around. The DVD of His Holiness's wisdom are all on behalf of the Tibetans present here and those who could not personally be here today. Most importantly, these are also on behalf of the Tibetans inside Tibet who cannot openly appreciate you for the support you have offered. They continue to be denied of their freedom and human rights. Their courageous spirit is our reason to regroup, re-engage, and revitalize and never give up on Tibet. We thank you all for standing shoulder to shoulder with the Tibetans in the past, the present, and future. Tocheche, and thank you very much. I would like to thank you for your patience through that long speech of mine. I know it was a bit long, but this is the only opportunity we have to really profusely thank you. So, and also I want to just share that an anonymous friend of the community has just donated $10,000 to Tank. I want to thank that anonymous friend, and I'm going to try not to look at that anonymous friend right now.
Thank you, Dejan Tringla. Many of our Western supporters are familiar with our next speaker, as she was the key figure in getting over 1,000 Tibetans to immigrate to the United States in the 1990s. He's a former Prime Minister of Tibetan government in exile in the 90s, who also served as His Holiness's representative to New York and his special representative to Washington, where he set up the Tibetan advocacy group, the International Campaign for Tibet. He currently teaches at the Stanford University and is the president of the Dalai Lama Foundation. Please welcome Kasur Tenzin Tetong.
Better? Okay. Thank you very much. Dejan Sirinla has spared me the difficult task of going through a long list of names of individuals and organizations. When I was first asked to speak, I did a rough draft, and most of my speech was really about names of individuals and groups. So, and when I shared this with Dejan, she said, maybe you should speak about something a little broader and more abstract. So it hasn't been easy, but I'm going to try. And some of the things which she has already said are in part of what I wrote up, and I will see if I can edit it as I go along and not repeat myself too much. But I want to start by saying that it is a special honor for me to be speaking to you this afternoon, but the honor is really meant to be for you, those whom we thank. I stand here in this room with many in the Tibetan community who represent the best of us. There are teachers, nurses, principals, community workers, Tibetan government officials, and excellent citizens of the Tibetan world. And as many of you know, I have had the rare privilege and also the great honor of working with His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, for many years. Therefore, in a symbolic manner, perhaps because of these credentials, I've been called on to represent and bring forth the full legitimacy of the history and the experience of the Tibetan people in exile, and that of His Holiness the Dalai Lama to bear on us on this occasion. I make these references with some reservation, but I do so because ours is a local Bay Area event, but it is also about any Tibetan anywhere saying thank you to the world. We have always acknowledged those who have stood by Tibet and whose work, even if peripherally related to Tibet, has in some ways benefited the people of Tibet. Today's event is meant to be a special Thanksgiving. We are in the 50th year of our exile for His Holiness and over 100,000 Tibetans. It marks half a century of untold suffering for the people of Tibet. The great sacrifices and the hard work that went into our survival. Excuse me, I tend to do this once in a while. And our adaptation to new circumstances and our growth and transformation as individuals and as a community. This year also marks the 20th year of the awarding of the Nobel Peace Prize to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Thank you. It marks the 20th year of this great award to His Holiness, to whom we owe so much. While the hopes and aspirations of the Tibetan people remain unfulfilled so far, we remain firmly committed to the ideas of freedom and justice for Tibet. But for all the success we have had in the last 50 years, it would have been impossible on our own. Speaking of our community, I just confirmed a short while ago that the first Tibetan who came to the Bay Area did so in 1951. So we are not entirely a new community. And the first Tibetan who did that was Tenki Tendrupla, and she's here with us today. Soon after, in the mid-60s, as you know, a handful of Tibetan lamas and scholars came to the Bay Area and introduced Tibetan Buddhism and Tibet. By the early 1970s, there was a small community numbering no more than a dozen, and they later came to form the Bay Area Friends of Tibet, about which Dechen La spoke. The dozen or so cooked momos by the hundreds, danced Tibetan, protested, wrote countless letters and appeals, and reached out to the larger Bay Area community, inviting hundreds, perhaps thousands, to become involved in the cause of Tibet. The community remained small until 1992, when the first of 60 Tibetans arrived from India and Nepal as part of the refugee program. This is one of the smallest, probably in US immigration history, when it was just part of a one-time, only 1,000 visas for Tibet. Today, the community is, I wrote down, approximately 1,200 strong and growing steadily. I believe it has already grown to over 2,000. We come from many corners of the Tibetan plateau, some relocating for the second time from the Himalayas and other parts of India, some arriving directly from Tibet, and others already in the United States, slowly discovering California. We are that community struggling to